Reported the boys missing.
They were adamant that Gayce has something to do with it.
You ever seen a stag film before?
Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. John Wayne Gacy is one of the most infamous serial killers in American history, and yet, even the latest dramatizations like Devil in Disguise, which was released on Peacock a few days back, leave out some of the most shocking and little-known details of his life and crimes. From near escapes to bizarre connections with his day-to-day life, there's a lot the show didn't touch on. In this video, we're diving deep into 10 insane facts about Gacy that never made it to the screen. Stick around, because some of these revelations are stranger and more chilling than fiction.
Blackmail, extortion. They were all taking advantage of me.
The conviction that should have been a red flag. Long before John Wayne Gacy became infamous as the killer clown, he already had a serious criminal history that hinted at the darkness to come. In 1968, while living in Iowa, Gacy was arrested and convicted for sodomy involving 2 young men. The offense was not minor, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. During his time behind bars, Gacy displayed an unsettling ability to charm those around him. He quickly became a model prisoner, working as head cook and even earning a position of responsibility among the other inmates. He joined organizations like the Gayces, gaining respect and showing a side of himself that starkly contrasted with the crimes he had committed. These efforts did not go unnoticed, and remarkably, his good behavior earned him an early release in 1970 after serving just 2 years. It is chilling to consider that someone with such a serious offense was allowed back into society so soon, setting the stage for the murders he would later commit in Chicago. Many experts looking back say this early release was a catastrophic misjudgment. Gacy re-entered the world with the same outwardly charming demeanor that would later help him lure victims. For those watching the series, it is easy to overlook this part of his story, even though they did mention it a few times. But the reality is that his early conviction was the first warning sign of the monster he would become.
That just freaked me out. And the youngest girl,
Wives and sister Karen. Gacy's personal life was complex, tangled, and often overshadowed by his crimes. He married twice and had children. His first wife, Marlene Myers, married him in 1964, and they had 2 children together. Following his 1968 conviction, Marlene divorced him the very same day he was sentenced. She received full custody of their children, severing almost all contact with him. His second marriage, to Carol Hoff in 1972, lasted until 1976. And while she observed some suspicious behaviours, she remained largely unaware of the full extent of his criminal tendencies. Another important perspective comes from Gacy's sister, Karen, who later spoke publicly about her brother. She shared her deep shock and remorse, reflecting on the duality of the man she thought she knew versus the reality of his horrifying crimes. The family, caught between love, fear, and disbelief, had to navigate the fallout of his actions while protecting themselves. It's a part of Gacy's story that the series barely touches on, yet it's essential to understanding the human side of those affected by him. These relationships, the children who grew up without their father, and the interviews given by his sister, add layers of tragedy and show the long shadow his crimes cast over everyone connected to him. The complexities of Gacy's personal life reveal just how adept he was at hiding his true self behind the facade of a seemingly normal family man.
Don't you?
I've never seen anything like it.
Pogo the Clown. This aspect of Gacy's life was teased and kind of flirted with a bit in the show. However, John Wayne Gacy's clown persona, Pogo, has become one of the most infamous symbols of his crimes. But beyond the iconic face paint, this alter ego served a chilling practical purpose. Performing at children's parties, community events, and charity functions, Gacy used Pogo to gain trust and blend seamlessly into suburban society. The bright colours, cheerful makeup, and exaggerated smile were a carefully constructed shield that helped him hide the darkness beneath. Even neighbours and acquaintances who thought they knew him could not imagine the horrific crimes he was committing behind closed doors. What's particularly disturbing is the contrast between the jovial clown entertaining children and the violent murderer preying on young men. His community involvement was extensive. He volunteered for political campaigns, attended civic meetings, and was generally considered a model citizen by many. This combination of outward normalcy and secret depravity made him exceptionally dangerous, and it is a point the series touches on only superficially. Understanding how Pogo allowed Gayce to navigate daily life undetected gives insight into the meticulous planning and psychological manipulation he relied on to commit his crimes. The clown is not just a gimmick in the story of Gayce, it's an essential part of how he maintained control, evaded suspicion, and preyed on those around him.
Missing. Reported last seen with you.
Yeah.
Hidden kill details. While Devil in Disguise covered Gayce's murders in broad strokes, there are harrowing details that were left out. Gayce often used a combination of charm and coercion to lure victims, promising jobs, money, or other opportunities. Once in his home, he restrained them using handcuffs and sometimes elaborate psychological manipulation, demonstrating a level of cunning that went far beyond physical control. After overpowering his victims, he would strangle them using rope or improvised tourniquets. What the show doesn't fully explore is the methodical nature of his killings and the care he took in moving and hiding the bodies. Many were buried beneath his house, while others were disposed of in rivers nearby. He kept some items from the victims, such as clothing or personal effects, which were found during the investigation. These objects, along with his methods, reveal a man who was meticulous, calculating, and deeply disturbed. Law enforcement and forensic reports indicate that Gayce had a clear ritual to his actions, reinforcing the cold, premeditated nature of his crimes. By leaving out these elements, the series misses the full extent of the horror and control Gayce exerted over his victims, which is crucial for understanding why he remains one of America's most infamous serial killers. However, this was the creator's choice, and we must respect that.
Operating a graveyard.
John Wayne Gacy was a model citizen before his arrest.
5 victims still without names. Even decades after Gayce's arrest, the story is not complete. Out of the 33 known victims, 5 remain unidentified, their names and histories lost to time. These victims were recovered from his home and surrounding areas, but due to decomposition and lack of records, their identities have never been confirmed. Investigators and families have relied on DNA technology and national databases, but the trail has often gone cold, leaving the case is open. The Cook County Sheriff's Office continues to investigate, but the passage of time makes identification increasingly difficult. The tragedy is compounded by the knowledge that these individuals are not merely statistics, as they had lives, families, and stories that will never be fully told. Their anonymity serves as a chilling reminder of the scale of Gayce's crimes and the enduring pain left in their wake. The series briefly mentions unidentified victims, but does not convey the ongoing human and investigative struggle to finally give these people their names back. Highlighting these cases underscores the continuing impact of Gayce's actions and the relentless effort by authorities to seek justice for every one of his victims.
John Wayne Gacy, guilty of murdering 33 young men.
Clues that point to more than 33 murders, while John Wayne Gacy was officially convicted of murdering 33 young men and boys. Evidence has long hinted that the true scale of his crimes could have been even larger. Forensic investigators noted gaps in timelines and inconsistencies in victim reports that suggest there may have been other unidentified victims. Witness reports hint at sightings of young men associated with Gayce who never appeared in missing persons records. Some forensic experts have pointed to unusual injuries on certain victims, like marks inconsistent with Gayce's known methods, that raise questions about whether he might have had accomplices or assistants at times. Furthermore, Gayce's meticulous cleaning and disposal habits could suggest a broader operational knowledge, leading some criminologists to speculate that he may not have acted entirely alone, even if no direct evidence of helpers exists. By examining witness reports, timeline gaps, and forensic anomalies, the chilling possibility emerges that the official count might not fully reflect Gayce's dark reach. These overlooked details hint at a more complicated and terrifying reality, emphasizing that even decades later, the true extent of Gayce's crimes may never be fully known.
The system failed these families. Innocent lives stolen from
the teen who used wrestling skills to get away. In May 1975, 15-year-old Anthony Antonucci was hired by John Wayne Gacy for an apprenticeship at his construction company. 2 months later, Gacy visited Antonucci at his home. Knowing the teenager had an injured foot, the two drank a bottle of wine and watched a stag film before Gacy attempted to wrestle Antonucci to the floor and cuff his hands behind his back. One cuff was loose, allowing Antonucci to free his arm while Gacy was out of the room. Upon Gacy's return, Antonucci, who was a high school wrestler, grappled with him, obtained the key and cuffed Gacy's hands behind his back. Gacy threatened Antonucci but eventually calmed down, promising to leave if freed. Antonucci agreed and Gacy left. Remarkably, Antonucci continued working for Paragon Decorating and Maintenance, the construction company Gacy owned for 9 months after this incident, and Gacy made no further attempts to assault him. Despite the significance of this encounter, the Peacock series does not depict Antonucci or this incident. However, for those interested in learning more about this survivor, the 2023 A&E documentary series Close Encounters with Evil features an episode titled John W. Gacy, which delves into Antonucci's experience and survival. Additionally, Antonucci has shared his story in various interviews and documentaries, providing further insight into his harrowing experience.
I want some goddamn answers!
How many are down there?
The property after the horror. Gacy's home at 8213 West Somerdale Avenue became one of the most infamous addresses in criminal history. Beneath the house, 29 victims were buried in the crawl space, while others were discarded in the nearby Des Plaines River. The house, riddled with the stench of decomposition, became a macabre focal point during the investigation. After Gacy's arrest, the property was seized and eventually demolished in 1979, erasing the physical structure that had held so many horrors. In 1986, a new house was built on the lot, and life slowly returned to the area, though the stigma lingered. Decades later, the property was sold in 2021 for $395,000, a reminder that even notorious crime scenes can eventually reintegrate into ordinary life. The sale sparked public interest and controversy, with some questioning whether it was appropriate to buy or live on a site with such a dark history. The story of the property itself is a reflection of society's complex relationship with infamous locations, showing how a place can carry the weight of human tragedy long after the events have passed.
But also an Italian restaurant, and John did like his.
From KFC manager to a final KFC feast. Long before Gacy became infamous for his murders, he had a very different connection to KFC. He managed 3 KFC outlets in Waterloo, Iowa, all owned by his first father-in-law, demonstrating his ability to maintain a veneer of normalcy and responsibility in everyday life. Decades later, this connection resurfaced in a darkly ironic way when Gacy requested a bucket of KFC chicken as part of his last meal on death row. His full final meal included 12 fried shrimps, a pound of strawberries, French fries, a Diet Coke, and the bucket of chicken. This peculiar choice connects the eerie symmetry between his earlier employment and his final moments. It also underscores the surreal normalcy that coexisted with his monstrous acts, that a man responsible for such heinous violence could still maintain personal preferences like any other person makes his story even more unsettling.
How many did you kill? Up to you to find out.
The botched injection, a long, ugly death. John Wayne Gacy's execution on May 10th, 1994, did not go as smoothly as protocol intended. He was 52 years old at the time, and the lethal injection procedure lasted 18 minutes, far longer than the standard few minutes. A chemical clog in the injection line delayed the process, prolonging the suffering and creating a scene that shocked witnesses and the media alike. Crowds outside the prison expressed a mix of relief and outrage, witnessing the end of a man whose crimes had horrified the nation. His last words were brief and infamous. "Kiss my ass." The series omits the entire execution scene after a long tease in the finale, just like how the authorities at that time didn't allow the parents and family members of the victims to witness the execution after making them wait for hours. The botched execution adds a grim, almost surreal final chapter to Gacy's story, emphasizing the dark consequences of a life filled with manipulation and violence. It also serves as a reminder of how even in death, the shadow of his actions could produce shock and fascination that echoes decades later. Marvelous verdict. That brings us to the end of this video. These facts remind us that even the most notorious stories can have hidden layers, and that the real-life details behind Gacy's crimes are far darker than any dramatization can fully capture. If you found this deep dive shocking, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more unsettling true crime explorations. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. Which fact shocked you the most? Or which overlooked detail would you like us to explore next? Drop a comment below and join the conversation, because like I said, the truth is often stranger than fiction. I will see you in the next one.